Hey everybody, this is Strategywizard and this is my cousin Jared.
Hello.
Today we're going to be doing a review of really multiple games, but the showcase here is Devastation of Indines. It's BattleCON. There's also War of Indines. There's Fate of Indines. Those are the ones that I have. Jared also has, what is it called?
Trials of Indines.
And I don't have that one, but this review really covers all of them because they're all part of the same game. You're just getting more stuff. Now, it's published by Level 99 Games, designed by D. Brad Talton Jr., illustrated by Nokamento, and it's a two-player only game, usually, but they have modes where you can play solo or you can play multiple players. It's not really the meat of the game, but they offer it as an option. So, we've both had this game. How long have we had this?
At least 2 years.
2 years. So we've had it for a little while. We've played it several times, and I think we both share the same opinion of this game. So we'll go and go to the table. We'll show you how to play, and we'll tell you if we like it or not. Okay, so this is the setup. You have a standee, cardboard standee for both players, and everyone's going to get this wonderful little envelope which has these different cards that they're supposed to get. And it tells you, now on the back it just shows the character, and then over here it tells you everything that you're supposed to be getting. It tells you the class, this is Tactician, Allegiance if you care about all of the story and everything, and then the difficulty, Advanced, and then all the wonderful stuff down here that comes with the character. And Jared has the same. I'm using Wellesley, and Jared is using Caesar, not to be mistaken with the salad. Or the Ancient Emperor. And basically, you always start off on these two little dots. Now, depending on if you have Devastation, War, Fate, the boards can be a little different. In this case, I want to say this actually starts out with them spread a little farther apart or something. There's something about this that's different than the original War of Indines board. I think part of it may include these spaces, but that's not important. For the basic two-player game, what's going to happen is you're going to set up just like this, and you're going to get all these cards. So, Jared, let's see all your cards and all my cards. Everyone's going to have, let's see, everyone has those bases. Show us the bases. The bases everyone gets. They are always the same, and I have those over here in this stack. And you also get these two special cards, which we're not going to talk about because, honestly, I've never really played with them. They offer an advanced option set, basically, and I will probably play with them at some point, but there's already so much cool stuff to do that it's kind of it's hard to worry about it. But your bases are just it's kind of like you could just consider them your standard attacks: shot, grasp, strike, dash, drive, and burst. Different ranged or melee or grappling or dodging is basically what those represent. But each character also has their own personal base that gives them some special ability, but they also have all of these styles. Now, these styles have what makes your character special, and they do all kinds of different things. And then you have your finisher. The finisher has two sides, and you choose at the beginning which side you want, and it does something awesome. You also have a player reference sheet, which you're supposed to give this to your opponent so they can see everything that you could do, and that way they can keep track of what they need to be worried about. And then you have your special ability card, which lets you know exactly what makes your character unique. So we both have all that. Now, in my case, my character has three special cards here, as well as, you know what, there's some tokens I'm supposed to have, but don't worry about that. That's not so important. But Jared has these special tokens for his character. And so each character might have tokens, cards, whatever that makes them special, their special ability, and everyone starts off with a dial of 20 health. Okay, so is there anything you need to say about your character that's special, or does that pretty much cover it?
Yeah, that pretty much covers what he does. It's basically the threat level counters.
Okay, so the point is each character is vastly different. It's amazing how differentiated the characters are. You're going to start off with some cards in these discard piles, but that's not so important, I guess, for right now. Well, I guess we should do a round. Let's go ahead and do a round of how you play. That way we can show exactly what this looks like. Because, this game is amazingly streamlined and simple, I would say. Would you agree, Jared?
Oh, absolutely. Once you learn the mechanics of it, it's boom, boom, boom. I mean,
Yeah, it's very fluid.
It's just making a move.
Yeah, literally, you're simultaneously deciding what you're going to do, and then you see how it plays out. Now, here's how you do that. You'll notice the wonderful thing is these cards, the styles they don't have a border on the right, and the bases don't have a border on the left. So you match them up. So let's just say I will secretly take these two cards. Jared will do the same, and then we reveal what we're playing. Okay. So,
and before we do that, though, actually, there's the anti-phase.
Oh yeah, let's not skip that.
And because what that basically is, and you can actually see on the board here, there's a beat sequence, and that's kind of basically the reference sheet for what you would find in another game that kind of shows the not really a turn order, but your action of your turn. Because turns are taken simultaneously, and we'll get into that. What determines who goes first? But for this character in particular, with Caesar, he has threat level counters, and for each anti-phase, he gains one threat level counter, which we'll put in the anti-pool. And basically, what this does for him is the more counters, the stronger he gets power-wise, and he gains stun guard as it goes on. And it'll reset, and then he'll get stunned, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so I forgot about the anti-phase. Mine, I can anti these cards, and they let me actually use cards in my discard piles, which is a great way to surprise people because, things that normally I would not be able to use are actually available to me, possibly. I have to have some certain counters on them and whatnot, but that's just more detail we don't have to go into right now. So, in this case, I've made my choice. Have you made your choice, Jared?
I have.
Okay, so we're going to reveal, this is mine, and you'll notice they have a wonderful flavor text of what the name of the attack becomes. I've got Parallax Arc. What's yours, Jared?
Mine is Fueled Shot.
Fueled Shot. Okay, so you simultaneously reveal them. Now, the basic order, after you set your attack pairs and do the ante, if you want to do any tokens or cards, then you reveal your attacks and you perform all reveal effects, and then there's a whole chain of things that happen. There's different terminology. We're not going to worry about going into all that terminology here because that's just details. What's important is you look at your priority, which is the yellow area here. I have +1 and 3, so that's a total of 4. What do you have?
I have -1 and 2, so I have a total of 1.
So, since I have the highest priority, my attack is going to go first. So I'm going to look at all of the text and see what I'm going to do. Now, in this case, even though I'm going first, if Jared had a start of beat effect, or if I had a start of beat effect, they would occur. Do you have one?
I do. I have a start of beat, gain a threat level, and we're not going to worry about the rest of it because it would apply at a later time, so I have now gained 2 threat levels.
So that makes him more dangerous. Now my attack can go ahead and activate. So you'll notice that there's a range, and my range is here. The way you read this is, if you have a 0, you add whatever the leftmost number is to the leftmost number here. So my minimum range is 2, and my maximum range is the last 2 numbers. 2 + 4 is 6. So I have 2 to 6 range. In this case, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away. He's within range. I have a power of -1 + 3, so that's 2 power. That's good, but not great. Now, on hit, I get to do something special with one of my counters. After activating, I can move directly to any space on the opposite side of my opponent. So I can just jump whoosh, over there, which is great, possibly. Of course, in this case, I might want to do it if I want to get close to him. But this also ignores soak, which is basically what makes it to where if Jared had soak, that however much soak he has, he takes that much less damage. But I ignore that, which is awesome. And I have something else that has to do with my special ability. And then after activating, I can move up to 1 space. In this case, I'm going to do 2 damage. And I would stun him, just like in a fighting game. If you hit someone, you stun them and they can't attack unless their attack has enough oomph to overcome a certain amount of damage. Mm-hmm. In this case, he does. He's got stun guard 2 plus 2. Plus 2 here. So he's going to take 2 damage on his health dial, but he still gets to attack. Now, after activating, I move directly to any space on the opposite side. I can only move here. This space is only for a special arena that you can play with, which we're not worrying about that right now. So I've moved to the other side. Now Jared goes ahead and does his attack.
And now with my card, I have a before activation ability, which is advance 1 or 2 spaces. I cannot do that, so I'm not going to move. But I also have range of 1 to 4. He is within range 1, so I'm going to hit him. I'm going to hit him for 4 damage plus 2 for my threat level counters.
So a whopping 6 damage. Ouch. That hurt.
Which, I mean, at 20 health, 6 damage, I mean, that's a quarter of your health already cut away.
Yeah, and really that's the point here. This kind of shows the difference of the characters. My character is very ranged, as you'll notice. I mean, like with her special base, that adds 2 to 4 all by itself, and my regular is 0 to 2 here. And then I've got a 2 to 5, a 1 to 2, a lot of range on mine, and I actually have -1 attack in some cases. So I can hit people a long way away, but I don't always do a lot of damage. Jared's is the other way around. Most of his stuff is more in melee, but he does uber amounts of damage. So that really is how a round works. I mean, you have all the other little, specific things, the start of beat, end of beat, reveal effects. You have to keep track of all that, but since it's all right here, you can follow it easily every time you play. The only other thing you have to worry about is all of the little words like soak or stun guard, but once you've played a time or two, you kind of get the idea. If you have stun guard, that makes it to where if they don't do too much damage, you don't get stunned. And if you have soak, you take less damage. All that kind of stuff becomes very straightforward and basic.
And what stun does is, let's say I only had 1 threat level and he did 3 damage to me, correct?
Yeah, I think. Wait, how much did I do? It was 3 -1, so actually it was only 2.
Okay, well, let's take away this right here. Let's say I didn't have stun guard. Had he hit me first, I would then be stunned, and my attack is I can no longer attack. And that's pretty much, I basically lose a turn, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that's where stunning becomes very powerful.
Yeah, you want to try to go first to get that stun in because you can shut your opponent down. They would still get to do end of beat effects. Those are things that happen no matter what, but their actual attack will have no effect, which is a great way of, that's an example of offense is the best defense. So that really is how it works. You can keep on doing this. You'll be moving across the board, doing different attacks and anteing and doing all kinds of cool stuff until someone is either dead or a certain, I think 10 rounds, I think 10 beats is the timer.
Yeah.
If 10 turns happen and no one's won, whoever has the most HP wins. The only other thing that we really need to bring up, I think, and Jared may disagree, but I think this is the last thing, is your finisher. You can choose, after you've secretly placed down, both sides have secretly placed down their attack pairs, you can say, I'm going to ante my finisher. You throw that finisher. Now, this is honestly an optional module. You don't have to play with finishers, but I always do because I think they're really cool, and they're thematic because a lot of fighting games have finisher moves.
Oh, it's a super move, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's awesome. But basically, depending on which side you chose, since you anteed it, that just becomes your attack. You take your attack pair back in your hand and you don't worry about it. Now, I didn't mention this earlier, but after you do your attack, you'll cycle your discard piles. So I would take the farthest cards, slide these over, and what I use this turn would go here. But in the case of playing a finisher, you just take the cards that you played back into your hand and you won't cycle this round, but you get to use this awesome card, and usually it does something really amazing. Once you've used it, that's it, but you can only use it once you have 7 HP or less, so it's like a last-ditch effort to go in there and smash your opponent, which, to be honest, can be totally game-changing. And finishers range totally differently. Mm-hmm. Jared's finisher has what? Tell us what your finisher does.
The finisher that I chosen, for this is I have only range of 1, but I have 7 power and 11 priority.
Basically, he's going to go first, and he's going to do a ton of damage if he's up close.
Yes.
Now, mine that I chose, I've got 1 to 2 range. I only do 1 damage, which is weak, but I've got 8 priority. But what makes it cool is if I hit the opponent, they are stunned, which is great because now they can't do anything, and all their cards in their hand are discarded together with their attack pair this beat. So that would mean all of his entire hand, everything he has would just go bloop, right down here, so we'd have almost no cards left. So finishers, or whatever you want to call them, super moves, they can do totally radically different things. But the point is they're all cool. They make it to where every character feels so different and fresh. So is there anything else that we need to talk about in the rules that I forgot?
I believe that's it. I mean, after the attacks go in, as we mentioned, you recycle the cards, and then you have to worry about after beat and after on hit and all those effects. After you resolve everything, you rotate cards and you start again.
Yeah, you just keep on going round after round. So that's pretty much how you play the game. Let's go ahead and go up top, and we'll tell you what we think. Okay, so here's the thing. This game's got a lot of bits, a lot of pieces. If you have all of the different versions, Devastation is the biggest, then you have War, which is in the middle, Fate's the smallest. I don't even know where Trial comes in, because I haven't seen it.
Trial's about the same size as Fates.
Okay, so it's a smaller one.
Yeah, it's one of the smaller ones.
Okay, so, but the point is, once you have it all, you have more than 60 characters to choose from, oodles of tokens, several different boards, some of which have more, or bigger or smaller, and there's just tons of stuff. Component quality, what do you think, Jared?
I really like them. I mean, miniatures would have been fantastic. However, the standees work just fine for what they are. The other little tokens and all that are really nice and thick. They don't bend. Their cards are really, really nice. Really, the only knock that I have as far as components go, and it's kind of not really, it's more storage than anything, is the storage for the character cards. And this is pretty typical for all of them, except you have one of the characters Enderbite or Enderbit, and it's just, there's so many cards you can really see.
Yeah, it ripped open.
Yeah,
because it can't hold it all.
Had a blowout. I mean, it's bad. And they remedy that in Trials, where each character has almost like a small deck box that holds the cards, the components, it holds everything. And I actually emailed Level 99 a while back because I had a question about one of my games, and they said that they may be coming out with a solution for all the previous releases.
Which, to me, is kind of a no-brainer because, like Jared says, the current situation, even with the ones that fit, it's still not the perfect storage solution. I mean, it works and it's nice because it shows you the character and all the components they're supposed to have, and that's great, but the tokens can't fit in here, and you wish that they did. You wish it was easy to just have everything for that character right within your grasp. So that is probably my biggest complaint, component-wise.
And like Daniel said, with the fact that you can't fit the tokens in these, the sheer amount of components.
Yeah, there's
no easy way.
Yeah, we have just bags and bags of different tokens and different things, and trying to find everything that you need can be a little challenging, unless maybe if you used a bunch of small baggies, that way you could have each character deck in this whole thing in a bag with the tokens. You could do that if you had a bunch of small Ziploc bags, but I just don't want to have to use that many Ziploc bags for all 50-something characters that I have. So that just is what it is. But apart from that, all the cardboard standees are really great. The artwork is amazing. I mean, it's just well done. The board's nice, and there's just a lot of stuff. So the fact they have a lot of stuff and it's all good quality for the most part, overall I'd say the component quality is very good, except for that one thing. Mm-hmm. Replayability, what do you think?
With the sheer amount of characters, it doesn't get old. I mean, it's like anything along like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, where you have just this breadth of characters that are all different. No one plays the same. I mean, there's just so much to do. There's so much to, it really feels like you can never really master all of them. That's just for the amount. And
actually, it's part of the replayability is once you play a character, you kind of want to play them again immediately just to see, can I do better? Can I master their technique? Now, here's the thing. Some characters are harder to use and some are more basic and straightforward to use. But as you play, you'll find ones that you like more because you like their style, but there's so much variety, and you want to reuse the same characters. It's not, even if I only had 10 characters, there'd still be a lot of replayability because trying to do better with the character that you like the most that's fun all by itself. But then trying all these different ones and the combinations against each other is also interesting because sometimes, you might have someone who's focused on range trying to get back and the other person's focused on melee, so they're trying to get up to you, and that interaction is different than two melee characters or two ranged characters going against each other.
And to me, that's where the beauty of the cards come in because, even though each character has their own specific set of cards, the base cards, they're all designed in a way that lets you be, I don't want to say all ranged melee and whatnot, but there's enough variety to let you do what you need to do.
Yeah, there's enough flexibility built into the base cards to where even if your styles predispose you to range or melee, they give you enough wiggle room to where everyone can stay competitive, and that's the cool part. They did a great job of making everyone seem like they can all win. You don't ever feel like you have no chance. Mm-hmm. Let's put it that way. So I think that's awesome. And I don't bring this up enough, but in this game I want to, is the theming. I want to say the theming of this game is spectacular. I can't imagine a better example of a game that brings the life of a 2D fighting game that Street Fighter, Killer Instinct, whatever it is, Mortal Kombat, the way you both choose how you're going to attack, you see what happens. Just like in one of those video games, you both attack, you might have a clash, you might have one person knocks the other person down before they can attack. There's so many different things that could happen, and it's all here. It's all here.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's really hard to find something that really gets a 1-to-1 for a video game, fighting game, to translate into a board game. I mean, it has everything. I mean, you basically have speed in a way, as well as priority. It's built into the game as priority itself. You have the range of your abilities. You have the strength of your abilities. I mean, it's pretty darn close to being a fighting game on a board. I mean, it's really hard to beat it.
Yeah, and then whenever you have all of these different stages that you can play on, there's tons of them. You have Assembly Line, Temple of the Unseen, Warriors Festival. There's just tons of different arenas you can fight on that change the rules. So you can go even further. Just like in a lot of fighting games, they have certain things in the stage that might make it to where, there's destructible objects or whatever. They have tons of variety there. And I just want to throw this out there. I meant to say this in the replayability portion. The fact that they even have what you could consider the equivalent of, say, story mode that some fighting games try to throw in there just so you can have a one-player campaign. They have that in here. You can do that if you want to, or multiplayer where you're fighting humongous bosses and working together to beat the unstoppable. I mean, there's just so much theme, so much excitement. It's just, it's amazing. So strategically, I don't know why I'm throwing that. Oh, that is where that goes. Strategically, what do you think? Is it too luck-based, or is there plenty of strategy to keep things interesting?
There's plenty of strategy. I mean, for the few times that we've played, I mean, and that's kind of going back to what I said earlier about the cards. Yes, your character, when you read what they do and you read their cards, you know what you're wanting to do with that character. But the game is fluid enough to let you adapt. If you're playing a ranged character, there's melee cards. You're not stuck to having to force yourself to play ranged. And if you're melee, and all of a sudden you're in a bad situation, you have cards that let you move far away to kind of move out of the way of danger.
Yeah, and everyone, of course, has that wonderful dash, which is your last-ditch effort to survive. So everyone is given all these options, and the thing is, in a sense, there's no luck here. It's more psychological. It's another one of those games where you're trying to read your opponent. There's no dice rolling. There's no pure chance. There's no drawing a card and seeing what happens. Your opponent has these cards available. You have these cards available. You're trying to figure out what do they think I'm going to do and what do I think they're going to do knowing that, and trying to outwit your opponent. So strategically, there's just oodles of options here. Oodles of options.
And this kind of goes back to the fact like it's versus Street Fighter or Guilty Gear or something like that. If your opponent's at range, here comes a projectile. You can try your best to guess what they're going to do next and try to act according. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, I agree with you. Luck is a non-factor here.
Yeah, which is a great thing to me in a fighting game because, I don't really want to roll dice to see damage in a fighting game. Rolling dice for damage has its places in some situations, but in a fighting game like this, I don't think it has a place. It just doesn't, because guess what? In a 2D fighting game, if you hit, you do this certain amount of damage. That's it. There's no. Sometimes you do more or less, and the way they made that work here is just flawless.
Yeah, because in fighting games, the term is when you punish someone. When someone whiffs and they have that opening, you take advantage of it. Where it's not so much in the sense of someone whiffs here. It's more of hey, you read them right, you got out of the way, but you're able to still do damage. That translates really well here, and it's very rewarding to have that big payoff. That you're able to guess what their next step was, and then you hit them with tons of damage, and now you're in a better position than you once were.
Yeah, it's ultra satisfying. And the thing is, being on the other end of that, you don't feel horrible. You don't feel like, oh gosh, this game's just not going my way this time. It's just exciting. It's exciting even if you're on the receiving end of big damage, because you see that they made a great play, and it's just the outwittingness of it. It keeps it exciting for both players, no matter who's winning, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree.
So overall, what do you want to rate it?
It's an easy 10 for me. I think the single player is definitely not good.
Yeah, it's not great.
However, I'm not playing this for the single player, and that's why I have no problem giving it a 10. The single player to me feels like it's there, but it's not the core experience of the game.
Yeah, it's basically like the gravy they threw in there for those people who don't get to play as much as they want to. Here's a way that you can get something out of it in the meantime between you getting to play with somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, it's the vegetarian option on the menu.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah. And I have to agree. For me, this is another 10 out of 10. I every time I play it, it's super exciting. I never go, boy, this is boring. Every time, for one, it's because you're constantly engaged because you're making simultaneous actions and then you see how it plays out. There's very little downtime, and yet you want to see what your opponent's doing at the same time that you're excited to play what you have. And man, and the variety of characters, it's always fun to try someone new or try to master someone that you've been playing to say, can I do better than last time? I mean, whew, 10 out of 10 easy.
And one thing about it that I really like, because at first when you get all, when I first picked up the game, I picked up Devastation, Fate, and War all together. That's 50 plus characters. We're out the gate. And you might go, oh man, how are you going to play with all 50 characters? Well, each match only takes 20 minutes, if that.
Yeah, each match is very short. There's a time limit, and then more than likely you'll win before that time limit. Someone will win before that time limit hits.
And matches can sometimes go 5 minutes because, you just read your opponent just right and you just pile on the damage.
Exactly. The thing is, someone's getting hurt every turn. Every now and then there might have a point where no one hits anybody, but for the most part, damage is being dealt. You only have 20 HP. They're not going to last long. Someone is fixing to die, and bam, you start another match, and it's so easy to do.
And to me, the saving grace for the game, because you might be thinking to yourself, oh, this person's piling on all this damage. Well, that's where the beauty of the recycling of your cards works in. It doesn't allow you to spam attacks.
Exactly.
It limits what you're able to do every turn. I mean, you have to come up with something new every turn, and that's to be fantastic.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. So we can't really say enough good things about this game. Mm-hmm. We just both really like it. I'll just go as far as to say that if anyone want to buy it, if they want to buy just one, if they want to buy just Fate, you're going to get a lot of fun out of just getting the smallest one. But more variety, if you want more, go for it. Either way, every one of these different versions is a great buy, in my opinion. And would you agree that if you bought just one, even the smallest, that you're going to have a ton of fun?
I do. I think the smallest ones give you 16 or so characters, which that's a standard fighting game right now on the market. But if you are looking for the single-player experience, I believe that's solely in Devastation.
Yeah, Devastation is the one that has. Devastation is the most content. It has. Mm-hmm. I think it has all the bosses and everything, and that you can, if you want to fight, multiplayer against a big boss, mm-hmm. and it has basically all the special stuff. But if you want just the core 2-player fighting, you can go for War and mm-hmm. and Trials, I guess, is the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Fate. So there's lots of options. You just go for what works best for you. We appreciate you watching this video. Please leave down in the comments if you agree, disagree, do you think we're crazy for liking it so much. I know some people do, but either way, we really appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video. So take care, everybody. Bye.
See you later.